with us today is Casper Stockfisch from Vojens in Denmark. Welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
Thank you, Jacob. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, trying to expand this a little bit and become a little bit more international in our focus. And thought it'd be cool to kind of talk about the differences between the different Nordic systems, between Norway, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, but then also some other junior programs in Europe. And how does that compare to Sweden? How does that compare to Canada and the US? Especially now when we're just finished up junior worlds. And so you see these programs that are popping up and how they are. So why don't we start with, tell us a little bit about Casper. Who are you?
Yeah, my name is Casper Stockfisch. I'm 27 years old. I've been coaching now for the last 8 seasons. I've been in Vojens all my life as a coach. I was 2 years in Sweden where I played for HV71. For the U18 program. Then I got back home and had some time in the second highest league in Denmark and played, I think it was 25, 30 games in the best Danish league before I had to retire. Unfortunately, I had 6 concussions in 4 years. So the decision wasn't mine, but it was made for me kind of. But yeah.
I've got elite prospects as usual open, and that was going to be my first question. As a kind of a abrupt, 1, 2, 3, 4 seasons in the Danish international play, and at different, U17, U18, U19, U20, and then nothing.
Yeah.
And then you go scroll a little bit further down, and it goes straight into coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Hockey has always been a big part of my life, and I really never had any kind of plan B. I always knew I wanted to work with hockey, and it just got a little bit different than I was expecting it. But I'm really happy to be coaching now. But it was tough in the start. I didn't plan on quitting that early. But
well, tell me a little bit about Vojens, because Denmark. Small country, everybody knows Copenhagen and the Lille Havefrue and the Danishes. Not a lot of people. We had Erik Wikström from Umeå on, that is now assistant coach in
Hello.
Yes. And he first, I think that's the second tour he's done in Denmark.
Yeah, he actually coached in Vojens. He was my coach when I played U17.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's such a small world. I got connected with him because he has been a coach in Leksand during the hockey school, and that's where I grew up. And it's such a small world. But if you're really talking about a small world, you got to Denmark. For those who don't know, it's not the biggest country in the world.
No, that's for sure. And Vojens is a small city. We only have, I think there's 5,500 people living in Vojens. So actually, our hockey rink can host the entire city for a game. So that's kind of fun.
And there's 2 rinks there, right?
Yeah. We got a small ring, a practice ring, and then we got the big arena. And it's kind of, Vojens is known for hockey. We have a bit of speedway and we have a bit of football, but it's always been hockey. That's been the big thing in Vojens.
So I have to admit, full transparency, I looked it up and I typed in Vojens Wikipedia, and it said it's a railroad town.
Yeah.
That's what it says on Wikipedia.
It's kind of like one main street and then just a lot of houses around.
It's awesome. It's awesome. So, and Vojens. So let's talk about where Vojens is in the league and how the league is structured. Let's talk first at the Metalliga.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know.
Yeah, the Metalliga is 9 clubs. Vojens is in the southern part of Denmark. It's 25 minutes from the German border. So we have the longest trip. So when we go to northern Denmark in Frederikshavn, we have a 4-hour bus trip. And then if we play the Copenhagen teams, it's 3.5 hours. So nothing
those,
compared to Finland and Sweden.
yeah. So everybody else that are listening is saying, terrible. What a terrible trip. 4
Yeah.
hours.
Very long trip. Yeah.
So, and you're currently, so when I'm looking you up on both LinkedIn, which I use a lot, and Elite Prospects, which I use a lot, busy time. You are head coach for U17,
Yeah.
U20, and the general manager for the club.
Yeah. And I'm also in charge of all our morning programs. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of spare time.
Yeah, so you must have been absent from one of the meetings or something, and then you got voted in.
Yeah,
Like he will do it.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah. It's fun, but it's a lot of hours. But I enjoy it a lot. It's been a bit tough here in the start. I just me and my girlfriend just had a baby, a son.
Congratulations!
Here, thank you. 6 weeks ago, so it's been tough being away from home so much. But I'm slightly adjusting now.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I hope everything is well with the baby and acclimatization of that. So, so general manager. So you were the general manager of Vojens overall club.
Yeah, for the entire junior department and youth club.
Okay, so they have a separate general manager for the men's team.
Yeah, exactly. We have the junior and the youth department is called Vojens Ice Hockey Club, and then we have the senior team called Sønderjyske Elitesport.
Okay, I'm not going to spell that, but
that's tough. But it's actually, they have ice hockey, handball, and football. They tried to make it like they took the whole, like, you have Småland in Sweden, you have Skåne, our district, and tried to create a team on in each sport.
Okay.
And it has been like that since 2006.
Okay. So you have youth. When does the youth program start for the kids there? What age?
We have a U17, which is the smallest, but we're recruiting players from whenever they're ready to start. We have mainly one recruitment day every month, and then it's always there's always access for new players coming in and trying to practice with our U7 team.
What about the younger ages? U10, U12. Do you have that in Vojens?
We have
part of Vojens. IK too.
We have U7, U9, U11, U13, U15, U17, and then the U20. Which is called Talent League. Okay.
And are you part of that U9 through U15 as well, or is that somebody else that manages that?
We have another head coach signed to take care of 11, 13, and 15, and then we have 2 volunteer coaches running 7 and 9.
Okay, awesome. So in Sweden you have youth hockey, then they move into juniors, and then you have the adults, and I'm assuming, so that sounds similar to Denmark, Sweden.
Yeah.
How does the school system, so of course in Sweden you have once you graduate from 9th grade, they go into gymnasium for 3 years, and then they go into university, or may or may not be associated with, but the university, I mean the gymnasium system with hockey gymnasiums in Sweden is so important. And that transition from U15, U16, and then going into juniors, how does that compare in Denmark?
It's somehow similar in Denmark. You actually, when you graduate from 9th grade, you have the chance to take 10th grade. You can choose if you want or if you don't, and then you can go straight to the gymnasium afterwards. So some guys maybe feel like, okay, my 9th grade didn't go as well as I wanted to. I'm going to take the 10th grade, get a year younger, and then start in school. But that's actually the only difference. As soon as they leave the 9th grade, they have the possibility to come to attend our hockey gymnasium and be a part of that.
And you have that in Vojens?
Yeah, we have that in Vojens, yeah.
Okay.
Right now we have 14 players in it.
Okay. And are you involved in that as well, or is that separate from the club?
That's a club project. I'm leading that project as well.
Okay, of course. And Swedish gymnasium system has the local and the national program. So you have the 24 or so national NIU gymnasiums.
Yeah.
So is that how you ended up in HV71?
Yeah, I ended up there after my 9th grade. I had a tryout there when I went to school still. Then I went over to doing my studies, but I had to go back home after the 2 years, and then I continued with my studies in Denmark.
Okay. So how does that work in Denmark? Do you have different national like the equivalent of the NIUs, and then you have some that are smaller?
Yeah, we have a lot of different programs in Denmark, actually, too many to count.
Okay.
When players say I have this program and this program, it's tough sometimes to figure out when the times are. But when they had the chance to either attend business school or like more of a general gymnasium.
Yeah.
Which is mainly focused on language and mathematics and physics and that. Then of course it's a business side of it. And then we have the more like the carpenter, the electrician, the
vocational, the vocational schools.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, it just seems like that Denmark has gotten on the mark. When I was growing up, I'm 47, just to be able to tell my age. I'm a little older than you are, but back then, Denmark was not necessarily on the front page of hockey. But now they've really developed some really good players in the NHL and so walk me through kind of how it works. The really good players, what's the typical development? When do they because you have a different levels of the different clubs if you compare it internationally, when do they seek themselves out of the juniors and so on from Denmark?
Yeah, they kind of got 2 roads ahead of them. Usually you see players, they leave for Sweden when they turn 16 and take the gymnasium way.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, you have players who's starting to play at the senior league already as 16-year-olds. We had a few guys last year. I think they got the first game as 15-year-olds in Rødovre. One of the guys moved to Sweden afterwards. One of the guys is staying and playing senior hockey, and it's always what's best to do: play in a high junior league or start playing against men. That's often the hard decision. But I think if we look back 5-8 years, Denmark sent more players to Sweden than they do now. Or at least it was more of the higher programs in Sweden they send the players to. That's something we felt. And when we play in the U20, the talent league, you see some players, they go and play U18 Division 1, which is a good league, but is it better to play U18 Division 1 or U20 and maybe practice with an elite team? That's always the big conversation here.
Yeah. So what are you seeing? So you're seeing U17 and is U17 is going to be 16 and 17-year-olds?
Yeah.
And sometimes younger?
Sometimes younger as well. Yeah, we usually take up a few of the good guys. Yeah. And they get a chance to play there.
And is that the year before they go to gymnasium, or is that some of them that are in gymnasium too?
When they start U17, that's when they finish the 9th grade. They're attending 9th grade, and then first year of gymnasium, they're still a part of U17.
Okay, and then some of them may leave, and some of them may stay. But then you're also recruiting from the outside to come for the J20.
Both for the U17 and U20, we're recruiting players from the outside. I'm so fortunate that we have we work together with a border school, which is in this town. So we have players coming, living on the school, attending school, and getting the meals there and everything. And they have the chance to take 9th and 10th grade there.
Yeah.
So that's a nice recruitment platform.
So how many of the higher skilled players at that level at J17 or U17, I'm used to saying J versus you, because that's kind of how it is in Sweden. But
Yeah.
how many of them get the chance to practice with the adult teams and play, or is it more that they have the chance to practice with the U20s?
More the chance to go with the U20s in the start, and then hopefully if they're talented enough, they'll get the chance in the Metallliga.
Okay, so you have some that are 17-year-olds that also could play in the Metallliga?
We had this in the preseason here. We had 4 guys getting the first game, 2 guys on 16, 1 on 17, and 1 on 19.
Okay.
And plus we had 5 different players besides those practicing with the team.
So, which I think is a huge difference here in North America, both Canada and the US. They're pretty much stuck with one team.
Yeah.
The system doesn't allow, which I think is a huge advantage in Europe, where you have the ability to just float up and down, practice, play, and you can, if you're talented, you can get as much or as little ice time as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And then, certainly people are going to try to move always try to move to a higher level, more competition, more visibility, to try to, everybody of course wants to make it to the NHL.
Of course. Yeah.
And that's kind of the steps in the ladder. So you mentioned one of the unique aspects of Danish hockey. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's and I think it's the only place in the world where the structure is like that. The league, which is rated the second highest in Denmark, that's the U20 league. We do have a senior league called the First Division.
Yep.
But that's rated below the U20 league. And we actually did that change, I think it was 4 years ago. We've been struggled a bit with maintaining the players in the systems, and we tried to change it up. And we talked a lot about why invest so much money in players who already had played on the elite team, and now they just want to have fun with hockey, compared to why not invest them in the young guys who's trying to achieve the Metallliga.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I think it's worked out well. It's you saw that all the clubs had to adjust in the start, and maybe the level of the league wasn't as high as we hoped in the beginning. But this season now, seeing just the preseason, is way more competitive than it was for a few years ago.
Yeah. The junior at the national team at the junior, are they in the B division, or
they B division?
So but they're kind of teetering there, where they're always trying to move up into the A division as well, and it all depends on who they get. If they can keep a couple of those players, that may
help.
That may help. Yeah. Well, I want to round it out. Here's an interesting question that I always wanted to ask, especially since you are, you've had several years as a coach, but you're still close enough to when you were playing. And of course, with experience and age, you get wiser and wiser. But what are 2 to 3 things as a coach now that you wish you could, if you had 10 years younger Casper Stockfisch kind of sitting in front of you, that you would want to tell him that you know now that you wish he would have known 10 years ago when you were 17?
Yeah, for sure. One of the big things for me was when I moved from Denmark to Sweden, I was used to being the go-to guy for the coach. I played 25 minutes every game. I played on the PP, the PK, first line, everything. And then you go to Sweden and you have 20 players who's better or just as good as you are. And that was tough for me in the beginning. And I wish that my coaches or my dad, who worked in hockey back then, maybe had spent more time in talking about that. The adjustment and how to handle it when it got tough, because it was tough for me. That's for sure. That's probably the main thing for me.
All right. What about 1B? Give me another one.
1B. Play faster. You see hockey getting faster and faster all the time, and I probably wasn't the fastest guy. I like to have the puck and do something with the puck, and that was probably had helped me a lot if I tried to push my skating ability when I was younger.
Yeah. So what about now, since you're coaching both U17 and U20, where do you see the development going in Denmark in general, and with your teams specifically? Where's it going?
I see a lot of guys who's struggling with a lot of competition. It's hard for the players nowadays. I think handling the competition and when it doesn't go as they want it to, that's really tough for them, and that's something we spend a lot of time working with the players. But you see the players, they play faster, they play smarter, and you see the guys playing more physical than they did for, let's say, 5 or 8 years ago. You start to see a little bit of old school hockey in the new guys coming up, and I like that. Guys who can play a little bit with the muscles.
Yeah. So that's the stamp that you're pushing a little harder on for these guys in this season.
Yeah. Always hit hard when you have the time. Yeah, for sure. And you see the guys. To me, passing is a big issue, and receiving a pass on your backhand. To me, that's the most underrated skill in hockey. That's the ability to pass and take every puck with you when you receive the pass.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing that we are working on right now.
Well, I think it's exciting. I mean, I'm glad that we connected. I think that with your background, not a lot of people have the ability to get in the coaching ranks as early as you have. You've gotten an enormous amount of on-the-job experience right away. The future is bright. My encouragement to you is going to be, number one, take care of your family, but continue to work hard, and the future is bright for sure.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to wrap it up, and going to try to keep these episodes a little shorter than I have in the past, and just so appreciate taking the time, and we'll release this here pretty quick, and hopefully people can get more and more interested in Danish junior hockey, and also the Metallliga. Go to, if there's if they want to get in touch with you, what's the easiest way to look you up?
They can always find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. Then just hit me with a message. I'm pretty quick to respond on them.
Yeah, awesome. Let's stay in touch.
We will. Thank you so much.